Hi guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Days after the Boostio versus Zelsis content-related drama, there's been some further developments on the situation with a tournament going down that Boostio seems pretty keen to play in, despite the fact that many people thought he wasn't so interested in this whole content malarkey. Lots of storylines though to dive into, especially around some of the results we saw around the world of VALORANT yesterday. Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's just dive straight into some of the talking points here, because Will says EG is winning it back-to-back this year. Best of luck everybody else. We shall see this weekend when the Americas truly gets back underway as to what we can expect to find in terms of results in some of these teams. Evil Geniuses. It was, I wouldn't say roughly this time last year, but not too dissimilar, where they started to become really good. Now, they were good in Tokyo, of course, famously, and Tokyo was this time last year, a few days ago now, where Fnatic, of course, won, but EG showed some promise. Then they went even further and eventually won the World Championship entirely. Vastly different roster now, vastly different players on their team now, but they still have Potter, they still have Jorgamo, they still have some signs of life. And apparently, when, the YFP boys with Will were playing them in some scrims, that they were just slamming them. So, I always like tweets like this because, we can just see, but as Will says, you legit have the world's greatest Neon on your team in Jorgamo. So we'll see if that continues, but EG apparently are looking like a real threat. Now, we talked about this one yesterday, Edward Gaming making changes to their starting lineup. Like, clearly they've had a red carpet, right? If we actually look at their record over the last few months, it ain't great, is it? Like, ever since this loss to FPX and this victory against FPX in the finals, it's been loss, everyone they've played to. The back-to-back Wolves and DRG losses, though, are pretty bad, it's got to be said. And they made the change. Simon comes in for Hao Dong, and they lose anyway, right? Kang on the Neon, still top performer, but down 13-11, 13-5 in the end on Haven. So, look, EDG, it's not the end of the world. They're qualified comfortably for the World Championship. If there was ever a time to experiment, now is the time. But it can't be great for them, right? There's talks from lots of the fans, given how they've underperformed over the last couple of months. What should they do? Should they be trading out coaching staffs? Should they be, trying to sign a new player to the roster? Should they be looking for players outside of China? Like, all these type of questions have been thrown around, and now they're making some changes, and they're going down 2-0 to DRG. Now, I actually like this DRG team. I think they're kind of nice. And the Chinese region right now is looking very fascinating, actually, because this is how it looks now. DRG are 4-4. Edward are 5-3, so, their playoffs, they'll make the playoffs, and they're already qualified for champs. But still, it is interesting to look at, isn't it? So Edward are now bottom of their group at 1-4 map count. They play Nova, they play BLG to round out the stage. So we'll see what they do, Edward Gaming, whether they can actually turn it around, because it's quite clear that their era of dominance in China is absolutely, indisputably over, and it is now for other teams such as FPX to really step up to the level. But, they were 13-8, 14-12 against JDG. So honestly, there's no clear dominant force in that region right now. Who knows what's going to happen going forwards. There was also talk about this. I know this has been a big discussion really of players in various leagues and regions retiring prematurely. And actually Venka, one of top prospects in the Indian scene, that many have said, maybe Global Esports should have picked him up or whatever. Now he's actually going to step away to focus on his studies. So it always feels like a bit of a loss really for the scene when these sort of things happen. But, who knows? Maybe he can come back into the scene at some point. We're wishing him the best, of course. Speaking of EMEA, though, wow. Na'Vi, what is going on over there? They have some serious questions to answer. Let's not forget, after failing to qualify through for Masters Shanghai, they got rid of Doom Bros. Their coach was out of the door. They decided, no, it ain't working, mate. We're going to get rid of you. Since then, they've just got worse, like dramatically worse. And they might be the worst team in the entire region right now. Like, they got slammed here. And it's honestly kind of embarrassing for them, given the strength of their roster theoretically. Giant X, like, credit where it's due, because they came through and just annihilated these guys. 39-13-8. Okay, there were some rounds won by Na'Vi, but it wasn't especially close. Ardis on the Jet, especially on map 2, did okay, but on the Breach didn't have a good time on the Lotus. This is not a team that if you're Na'Vi you should be losing to at all, and they're now 0-3 in Stage 2 after going 4-1 in Stage 1, and they literally haven't won a map in Stage 2 going 0-6. So I do wonder whether, Doom Rose is sitting there with a bit of a smile on his face thinking, wow, yeah, you dropped me, this is what you get, or whether they're saying, know, maybe come back, Eric, like, please come and save us or whatever, because I don't know what they're going to do right now. They are not in a good position at all. This was the other one, though, because Liquid, they're in a similar spot. They just got slammed here. Like, BBL just took them down 13-6, 13-5, not even close. And again, Liquid and Na'Vi, teams that on paper should be absolutely mixing it up with the top of the EMEA region, they've been getting slammed. What do you do with this Liquid team, right? I don't even know what the solution is. Nat still did okay, but yeah, Gen.G, he's just been, it is interesting spot really for Gen.G, because I know people have compared him to a guy like Asuna, for example, you know, clearly talented, but has never quite, maybe in terms of an individual player, reached the heights that maybe were expected at some point, and just consistently on pretty mid rosters. Not saying it's necessarily entirely those players' fault, but there is a question about Gen.G's, you know, identity, you know, what role does he actually play consistently, and he just, you know, had a tough time in the series. I don't know what you do with Liquid, I don't know what you do with Na'Vi, but you might have to blow it up soon if things don't change around, because Liquid are now 0-2, 0-4 map count this stage, Na'Vi are now 0-3, 0-6 map count this stage, and if we look at the season standings, Na'Vi are now 4-4, That is precarious, to say the very least, to qualify for the World Championship. They have 2 more games to go against KOI and against Gentlemates. You know, you'd think, oh, that's fine. But when you're 0-3 and you're losing to, you know, especially Giant X, anything is possible there. And Liquid are 3-5, and they play KC and Fnatic to round out their season. So it ain't looking that good for them either. It's all to play for, though, in EMEA, as you can see, because in the middle of the table here, it's an absolute mess. I know there was also talk from this as well, especially from the Valorant perspective on esports breakthrough player of the year. Of course, Donk is going to be there from CS. Thought it was interesting, though, that Karanzan was mentioned here. Just because, you know, is this his breakthrough year? Like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like that to me. So let's talk about, you know, Caron, for example. Where is he? Where's Woot, especially from, you know, Team Heretics? But no, the representation from Valorant is somewhat surprising, I would say, to say the very least. Let's talk about this as well, though, because there's a great storyline developing here in Challengers right now with Dark Zero. It was a long time ago since Oxygen Esports lost their most recent series. Well, they lost yesterday. Dark Zero Esports, the team with Wedded, Corey, Ada, B-Dog and Stella, they are making some serious noise. And Oxygen, despite being arguably for a little bit of time now the favourites for Ascension this season, they won Game 1 13-4 on their pick. They lost the Bayern 13-7, and then they lost the Decider 13-10. Massively impressive, I thought, here from Dark Zero to get the victory in this series. That sets things up as follows. You know, look, Oxygen are still in a great spot, but Dark Zero now are 5-0. They've beaten everyone they've had to beat, and kind of like quietly in some ways, Dark Zero, who used to be Turtle Tube, of course, but just got signed recently, are making some noise. You know, 5-0, they're looking in a great spot to potentially make it to Ascension, and who knows, even win Ascension this year. And the storyline's even better given what is currently happening with Wedded, right? Of course, you know, if you guys aren't familiar, he announced that he has been diagnosed with cancer several weeks ago, and actually he gave an update a few days ago now saying that the cancer that he actually has is a really, really rare one, like 1 in 2 million rare, and says that it's a much more aggressive cancer than what they initially thought he had. So, you know, the chemotherapy is much more intensive, starting very soon. So, and also he said that he's, you know, given permission to the hospital to study him because there's not much information on this type. So, you know, what a hero, right? And just wishing this guy the absolute best. The fact that he's still able to play at this level right now with everything he's going through, just so commendable. And, you know, I'm sure that he's going to get through this. But it just makes the storyline on what Dark Zero are currently doing even better. But we've got to talk about some of this Boostio Zelsis stuff continuing, because over the last few days we've seen, of course, Zelsis popping off on the YouTube channel. The Boostio Drama was insane one, was highly entertaining, as we saw over the last couple of days. Boostio then responded to that. Zelsis pretty weird for making that video. Zelsis then came back a little bit and they had a back and forth, and that is probably not going away. But of course it all started with Boostio making the comment on stream around Nadeshot. Okay, he didn't talk about Nadeshot, but he said, like, 100T don't care about winning, they just want us to make content, gotta get up at 7 AM to make content, this is unacceptable, and all this type of stuff. Zelsis then responded, Nadeshot responded, we've seen all the drama over the last couple of days. The funny thing was, though, that therefore, you know, there's been more content being made about Boostio from various angles, such as this one here that Valorant put together, given the fact that Abyss is now very much in the game and ready to go. But there was also this here from Offline TV. Hello, we are doing a Valorant 2 versus 5 pros versus noobs tomorrow night, and are looking for one more pro to play. If you're available, please DM or reply. So, Tarek gets the reply, and then they say, Noob's team was full. Sorry about that. But then Boostio is in the replies saying, undo it, he says. Now, I think he knows what he's kind of getting himself in for here, but of course, everyone in the replies was like, because this is taken time out of his schedule, his very difficult schedule of practicing, and I'm not, downplaying Boostio's opinion on how difficult it is to be the best in the world, right? It ain't easy. And Boostio and the team have got to practice all the time. They've got to do VOD review. They've got to, prepare strats and ideas and, actually have time for themselves to make sure that they're in good, physical and mental shape, this type of stuff. Making the content is taxing, no doubt about it. But the question would still be there. You've probably got to do it if you want to make your salary worthwhile. And also, you've got to also understand, it's not just about your playing career, it's also about setting yourself up post-playing career, right? When Boostio's done competing, is he going to have the stream presence, the personality presence, the YouTube presence to make something else work? That's a question. We saw him talk about that a bit yesterday, actually, given, the relationship with his parents, stuff like this. But then he says, I would do it, he says. So, taking time out of his day to go and play a content match effectively. And Boostio's like, yeah, count me in. So obviously in the replies, people are like this. I thought you were tired of content. No, bro, you've got this 7 a.m. shoot tomorrow. What do you mean you're doing content, right? I thought you hated content. You don't want to do all this stuff. Bro hates doing content, then does more. You sure there's not too much content for you? But you've got to wake up at 7 a.m. though for this. Surely you've got some sort of content shoot going on. You'd like to do content? Don't let Nate see this. Didn't you retire? Not more content, man. Didn't bro just complain? So, the replies are all pretty funny and expected, to be fair. Boostio kind of getting cooked for this one. But very much interested your thoughts, as always, and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.